You live in the same house, share the same bed, eat the same meals, maybe even watch the same shows, laugh at the same jokes, pay the same bills, tuck the same grandkids into bed. And yet, it feels like she hasn't really wanted you in years. Not in the polite way, not in the warm, familiar, married way, but in the way that makes your pulse quicken, in the way that says, I still see you, and I still want to be seen by you. You try to spark it. You brush your hand across her back in the kitchen. You compliment her hair. You plan a weekend away, something simple, thoughtful, quiet. She smiles, says thank you, even kisses you on the cheek. But then she turns away, and something inside you goes cold, because you're not looking for gratitude. You're looking for pull, for that feeling that says she still wants more of you, not just more of what you do. And you start to wonder, has something died? Is this just what marriage becomes? Is passion only for the young? But what if I told you, desire doesn't die. It just gets bored. And bored women? They don't stop loving you. They just stop wanting you. They stop reaching. Stop leaning in. Stop reacting. Not because you failed, but because you became too predictable, too available, too constant, too easy to hold. See, desire doesn't feed on safety alone. It needs space. It needs timing. It needs a little bit of risk, a sense that she's still being pursued, and that she's still pursuing something back. Tonight, I'm going to show you exactly how to wake that hunger again. Not with grand gestures, not by becoming someone new, and definitely not by begging, pleading, or performing, but by quietly, slowly, rebuilding the edge she used to feel in your presence, the edge that made her lean in, hold eye contact, touch your arm just because. It's still there. You're still him. She just needs to feel it again. And you need to stop trying to please her and start becoming the man she still wants to chase. It happens slowly, almost invisibly. You think you're doing everything right. You're consistent. You're polite. You ask how her day was. You load the dishwasher. You bring her tea when she's tired. You've become dependable, predictable, safe. And yet, somehow, she feels further away. The more you show up in all the right ways, the more she withdraws in all the quiet ones. She smiles, but it's polite. She kisses you, but it's routine. She sleeps beside you, but you feel like you're in different worlds. And deep down, a question starts to form. What more could I possibly do? But maybe doing more isn't the answer. Because here's what no one tells you. Desire doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in contrast. Women crave unpredictability. Not chaos, not recklessness, but a subtle sense of edge, of discovery, of wondering what version of you will walk into the room today. She doesn't want danger. She wants depth. And depth isn't loud. It's unreadable. Because what sparks her curiosity, what makes her pulse quicken, isn't perfection. It's mystery. The truth is, when you become too easy to figure out, when your reactions are scripted, your affection too available, your rhythm too rehearsed, she stops leaning in. Why? Because there's no edge left to grab onto. No tension, no tension, no spark. A man without contrast becomes invisible. You lose your sharpness. And without sharpness, she has nothing to push against, nothing to chase, nothing to wonder about at 2 a.m. Let's be honest, you weren't predictable when you first met. You were spontaneous, not reckless, but alive. You made her feel something unexpected, a spark she couldn't explain. You'd text out of the blue. You'd make a comment that caught her off guard. You'd go quiet, not because you were angry, but because you were thinking. You had texture. Over time, routine smoothed your edges. You softened, not in kindness, but in mystery. And she felt it, not in her head, in her body. She didn't say it. She probably didn't know how. But désir deemed. Not because you weren't good, but because you were too known. So what's the fix? Not to become someone else. Not to grow cold. Not to play games. But to reclaim the part of you that doesn't need to explain itself. The part that surprises, with silence, with intensity, with a single look that says more than a paragraph. Reclaim your contrast, not by adding noise, but by removing expectation. Pull back just a little. Not to punish, but to reintroduce a question. What's he thinking? Where is he going? What's shifted in him? Because when she starts wondering again, she starts wanting again. She used to wonder where your mind wandered, what you were thinking, what you weren't saying. That wondering, it was part of the desire. Not knowing everything about you created space for her imagination. And imagination is where attraction lives. But over the years, you made yourself fully accessible, always available, always eager, always right there, waiting. You erased the mystery, not because you meant to, but because you thought that closeness meant clinging. You mistook presence for proximity. You were always beside her. But somehow, she felt alone, because physical closeness, without energetic gravity, is just furniture. And here's the part no one teaches men. Desire needs space. It needs tension. It needs room to breathe, to imagine, to miss. You think being next to her 24/7 proves love. But what it often proves is that you've forgotten who you are, outside of her. And when a man forgets that, so does she. She stops seeing you as a man with his own direction. She starts seeing you as a shadow, a presence that doesn't pull, just follows. But you weren't always like that. She didn't fall in love with a man who hovered. She fell in love with a man who had his own fire, his own thoughts, his own center of gravity. That's what drew her in. The fact that you didn't need her energy to be whole, but still chose her. That subtle but powerful difference, it's everything. So how do you get it back? You start by reclaiming your world, not by pulling away with coldness, not by creating distance through silence or punishment, but by creating space through purpose. Read the damn book you've been putting off. Go lift weights, not for her approval, but for your strength. Take a quiet walk without checking your phone. Build something with your hands. Create a world that moves, even when she's not watching. When she sees you, engaged with something other than her. Something that grounds you, focuses you, centers you. She'll feel something unexpected. A pull, a curiosity, a question. Where did this new energy come from? Why does he seem different? What's changed in him? And that wondering, that space between what she sees and what she knows, that's where cow cut begins again. She doesn't want you gone. She wants to feel that she can't hold all of you at once, that some part of you still lives just outside her grasp. Not to hurt her, but to remind her, you are still a man with momentum, with mission, with a core she can orbit, but never fully consume. And that's what makes her lean in again, because no woman desires what she fully controls. She desires what she still has to reach for. She doesn't want your touch all the time. She wants to feel that when you touch her, it means something. A hand on her back when she's walking away, a thumb brushing her cheek in the silence after she speaks, fingers tracing her arm not for your pleasure, but because she just said something that cracked her heart open. Touch, when done right, doesn't just feel physical, it feels chosen, intentional, weighted. But what happens in long marriages is this: touch becomes habit, not expression. You kiss her because you always kiss her at 9 p.m. You squeeze her shoulder because it's your signal for, I'm here. Oh. You cuddle because it's Friday night and the show is on. And slowly, without realizing it, touch becomes invisible. She doesn't pull away because she hates it. She pulls away because it doesn't carry presence anymore. Because the difference between a man who touches to connect and a man who touches to maintain peace is felt instantly. You don't need more affection. You need deeper timing. A rare touch with weight is better than daily gestures with none. So what does that look like? It means waiting, watching, listening, and when the moment cracks open, you move. When she talks about her father's health, and her voice dips lower, and her eyes scan the floor for somewhere safe, that's the moment you place your hand on hers. Firm, steady, silent. You don't say, it'll be okay. You just let your touch say, I'm with you, fully. Now, that one touch, more powerful than 1,000 back rubs during the commercial break, because it carries direction. It says you're reading her, not just reaching for her. It says you're awake. But here's what men forget. Timing isn't about waiting for permission. It's about learning to sense the opening. Most men touch too much or not at all. They smother or they starve. But the man who touches sparingly, with purpose, that's the man she feels. It's not about performance. It's about attunement. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is wait. Let silence speak. Let her emotions fill the space. And then, reach. Not to fix. Not to calm. But to anchor. Because a woman doesn't want to be held by a man who's anxious. She wants to be held by a man who is rooted. And when you master the art of touch at the right moment, she won't just feel your fingers. She'll feel your presence. She'll remember why she used to lean in. Why her body softened. Why her breath caught. Not because of what you did, but when you did it. So stop touching out of routine. Stop reaching because you feel distance. Stop hugging like a clock. Start waiting. Start watching. Start letting her feel that when you move, you do it with awareness. Because when you do that, even once, you shift something in her. Not in her mind. In her nervous system. And the next time she sees your hand reach across the table, she won't flinch. She'll pause. And she'll feel wanted. Not as an obligation, but as a choice. She doesn't need flowers every Friday. She doesn't need candlelit dinners or rooftop views. She doesn't need a reason. What she craves is a feeling. The feeling that you still see her. That out of all the noise, all the tasks, all the years, you paused and chose her. That's what women mean when they say, I just want to feel special again. It doesn't take much. A simple note on the kitchen table. Be ready at 7. Wear the dress you love. No explanation. No build-up. No over-talking. Just enough mystery to make her heart skip. Maybe you drive her to the same coffee shop where you first told her she looked beautiful in that blue sweater. Maybe you take her to the lake and say nothing at all. Just sit close, breathe the night air, and let the silence remind her that presence is still your first language. It's not about recreating your youth. It's about reviving your intention. The kind of intention that once made her glance at her phone 10 times, just hoping you'd text. The kind that said, I see you, and I still choose to pursue you, even when I already have you, because desire doesn't die from age. It dies from neglect, from assuming love is enough. But pursuit? That's what keeps love alive. You were told to be a good man, so you listened. You were kind, reliable, supportive. You avoided conflict. You checked in. You made sure she had everything she needed. You became what the world called safe. And in the process, you lost your spark. But not because you weren't enough. Because you forgot one thing. Desire isn't built on safety alone. It's built on tension, energy, presence. It doesn't matter how many compliments you give, or how many favors you do. If everything you offer comes from a place of needing her approval, she feels it. And the part of her that once leaned into you pulls away. Because no woman truly desires the man who revolves his entire self around her mood. She may appreciate him, respect him, even feel safe with him, but she won't want him. Desire is a biological reaction. It responds to direction, to grounding, to emotional leadership. That doesn't mean dominance. It means depth. The kind of depth that says, I know who I am, with or without your validation, but I still choose to move toward you. And that's the difference. You're not here to be perfect. You're here to be felt. She doesn't need your perfection. She needs your weight. Not in words, not in effort, in energy. Because a man who can lead emotionally doesn't have to say much. He walks into the room, and she can feel him, his calm, his steadiness, his quiet direction. That's what awakens something in her. Not because he demands her desire, but because he attracts it. He doesn't chase. He invites. He doesn't explain. He moves, and she almost instinctively follows, because at her core, what a woman longs for isn't a man who needs her to feel whole. It's a man who is already whole, but still chooses her anyway. She didn't fall back in love because I changed for her. She fell back because I became the man I once was. But even deeper, you don't need to say much tonight. In fact, you shouldn't, because what she remembers isn't what you said to win her. It's how you made her feel when you said nothing at all. The presence, the quiet certainty, the way you moved with intent, not anxiety. So tonight, don't overthink. Don't ask, are we okay? Do you still want me? What can I do better? Instead, do one thing. One quiet act that reconnects you with you. Lift a weight, light a candle, and read a book. Cook something simple, slowly just for you. Step outside and feel the wind on your skin. Sit in silence, with your spine tall and your mind clear. Not because it's a tactic, not because it'll impress her, but because it makes you feel centered again. When you reclaim your center, you start radiating something else. Not need, not pressure, not desperation, but gravity. And a man with gravity doesn't need to chase. He stands still and draws the world back to him, including her. She'll feel it, not in her head, in her body. That quiet shift, that subtle pull, that ancient reminder, he's still here, he's still him, and somehow, he's even more. Let her feel that, and let it begin, without a word.